You people don't belong in the main lobby. The hotel manager grabbed Zara Williams' arm. He steered her toward the back exit like she was trash. 23 years old, black, wearing a wrinkled delivery uniform in the marble palace of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel. Other guests stared, staff smirked. Business executives in thousand suits watched her humiliation. Service entrance is that way, he hissed, shoving her toward the corridor. Zara's hands trembled with quiet rage, but she walked away. 1 minute later, that same lobby exploded. CEO David Thompson threw his phone down. Sweat streamed down his face. The translator isn't coming. The Japanese investors are here. His voice cracked with pure terror. This deal is dead. My company is finished. Have you ever watched someone judge a book by its cover, only to discover they just dismissed their own salvation? David Thompson burst into the service hallway. His shirt was untucked. His tie hung loose around his neck. University language department closed for weekends. He speed dialed frantically. Google Translate for a $50 million deal. I'm dead. 20 years building his company. Everything depended on the next hour. And he couldn't even say hello in Japanese. David slid down the marble wall, head in his hands. 20 employees, their families. What am I going to tell them? A random waiter passed by. David grabbed his sleeve desperately. Do you speak Japanese? Anyone? Kitchen staff? Housekeeping? I'll pay triple your monthly salary. The waiter shook his head, hurrying away from the crazy CEO. David's phone buzzed. Board member Jim's name flashed on screen. Hi, Jim. No, everything's not fine. His voice shook. What? The investors are asking the front desk for directions. They're here. He hung up, staring at the ceiling. Career over. Company bankrupt. Then a quiet voice spoke behind him. Excuse me, sir. David spun around. The delivery girl stood there, still holding her catering bag. I couldn't help but overhear. Her voice was steady, professional. I speak Japanese and Mandarin and Korean. Silence. David's head snapped up. His eyes went wild with desperate hope. You speak Japanese. Please tell me you're not joking. Please tell me this isn't some cruel universe joke. His voice cracked completely. I have 12 employees depending on me. Investors who flew 6,000 miles if this deal falls through. He stared at her intensely. How well, casual conversation or business level? I'm a linguistics graduate student at Columbia University. Zara sat down her delivery bag with quiet confidence. Business level fluency in all 3 languages. David's phone buzzed again. Text message visible. Investors in lobby asking where translator is. They seem confused. David looked at the text, then at Zara, his entire future balanced on this moment. That's them right now downstairs waiting. His voice was raw with desperation. Will you, I'm begging you. Through the hallway windows, black luxury cars lined the hotel entrance. What's your name? David whispered. Zara Williams. And Mr. Thompson. She glanced toward the lobby. Your investors just walked through the front doors. The elevator climbed to the penthouse conference room. David's reflection multiplied in the mirrors. A desperate CEO next to a delivery girl who might save his company. His hands shook. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Zara stood perfectly calm. Are you sure about this? David whispered. These are some of the most powerful investors in Asia. I'm sure, Mr. Thompson. The elevator doors opened. 4 Japanese executives stood in perfect formation. Dark suits, pristine white shirts, faces unreadable. Their presence commanded the entire room. Lead investor Mr. Chishi stepped forward. His bow was measured, precise. Traditional Japanese business protocol. David fumbled forward awkwardly. Chishi-san, welcome to. Zara moved smoothly beside him. Her bow matched Chishi's exactly the correct angle, perfect timing, appropriate duration for his senior status. Chishi and Thompson Imas, perfect pronunciation, flawless cultural context, respectful, honorific language. Mr. Chishi's eyes widened in genuine surprise. David's mouth fell open slightly. The hotel manager, lurking by the door, looked stunned. Chishi responded in rapid complex Japanese, not the simple phrases foreigners usually attempted. Real business Japanese. Zara listened intently, nodding at appropriate moments. No hesitation, no confusion. Mr. Chishi says he's deeply impressed by our attention to cultural protocol. He's eager to discuss partnership details and he appreciates that we understand the importance of proper respect in business relationships. But she wasn't finished. He also mentioned, and this is culturally significant, Mr. Thompson, that our gesture shows we value long-term relationships over quick profits. In Japanese business culture, that distinction matters enormously. David stared at her. This wasn't just translation. This was cultural interpretation at the highest level. The second investor, Mr. Yamamoto, spoke in rapid Mandarin, testing her clearly. Without missing a beat, Zara transitioned languages seamlessly. Her tone, her posture, even her facial expressions adapted to Chinese cultural norms. She responded fluently, then turned to David. Mr. Yamamoto was testing whether I truly understand Asian business dynamics. He asked about manufacturing timelines in Mandarin because many American companies use Chinese factories. I explained our commitment to quality and cultural sensitivity in both markets. The third investor smiled and nodded approvingly. But here's what's really important. Zara continued quietly to David. When Mr. Liu mentioned considering the timing carefully, that's actually positive in Chinese business culture. He's moving toward yes but wants to ensure face saving for both parties. David's expression shifted from panic to amazement to profound respect. This young woman didn't just speak languages. She understood the cultural psychology behind every word. Mr. Chishi addressed Zara directly in Japanese. His tone was warm, respectful, treating her as an equal professional. Zara blushed slightly, responded with appropriate humility, then translated. He says, my Japanese reminds him of his daughters. Very respectful and precise. He appreciates that I understand not just words, but cultural heart. She paused, emotion flickering across her face. He also said, working with our company feels like working with family, not just business partners. The room's entire atmosphere had transformed. Formal stiffness melted into genuine warmth. David realized he was witnessing something extraordinary. Status meant nothing here. Respect was everything. And Zara commanded absolute respect through pure competence. His phone buzzed urgently. New message. Korean delegation landed early. ETA 15 minutes. They're coming directly to hotel. David showed Zara the screen. Her calm confidence never wavered. Korean business culture is different from Japanese and Chinese, she said quietly. More direct, but still deeply hierarchical. Would you like me to stay? David looked around the room. Japanese investors were smiling, relaxed, clearly impressed. His biggest international deal was not only saved, it was exceeding every expectation. Miss Williams, he said formally for the first time, using her proper title. I would be honored if you'd continue as our interpreter. I'd be honored to help, Mr. Thompson. Through the conference room's floor-to-ceiling windows, another set of black luxury cars pulled up to the hotel. Entrance. Korean flags fluttered from the lead vehicle. Excuse me for 5 minutes, Zara said politely. I'll be right back. She slipped into the executive washroom. Marble countertops, gold fixtures, soft lighting, a world away from her childhood. Zara stared at her reflection. Delivery uniform in a palace of power. Her fingers found the small silver pendant hidden under her collar, her grandmother's necklace. The only thing of value Mama ever owned. Language is freedom, baby girl. Mama's voice echoed in her memory. Every word you learn is another door opening. Bed-Stuy Brooklyn cramped apartment above the corner store. While other kids played video games, Zara sat at the kitchen table with textbooks, Spanish from Mrs. Rodriguez next door, Mandarin from the family upstairs, Korean from the grocery store owner who let her work for food. Mama spoke Gula, the language their ancestors brought from West Africa, a language schools tried to erase, a language most of their family had forgotten. They want us to be invisible, Zara. But when you speak their languages better than they do, then they have to see you. Korea University full scholarship, linguistics, PhD program. The smartest girl in Brooklyn, professors said. But scholarships don't pay rent, don't put food on the table, don't cover the delivery job that kept her surviving while classmates complained about daddy's credit card limits. Every language was another shield against dismissal. Every perfect pronunciation was armor against assumptions. Every cultural nuance mastered was proof that intelligence had no color, no class, no zip code. She touched the pendant again. Mama died before seeing Zara walk across Columbia's graduation stage, but she'd be proud today. You're not just translating words, baby girl. You're translating worlds. Zara straightened her uniform, smoothed her hair. Through the washroom door, she could hear Japanese voices. Warm, laughing, comfortable. She'd spent her life being underestimated. Today, that was about to change. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Miss Williams. David's voice through the door. The Korean delegation just pulled up. I need to ask you something important. Zara opened the door. David stood there nervous but determined. I don't even know your background, your credentials, your experience. But in the last hour, you've created more value than our entire international department has in months. He paused, studying her face. Are you ready to change everything? The conference room buzzed with anticipation. Japanese investors on one side, Korean delegation filing in on the other. David positioned between them like a referee who didn't know the rules. 5 Korean executives entered in strict hierarchical order. Their movements were precise, formal, more direct than the Japanese, but equally respectful of rank. Zara immediately adjusted her posture. She studied each person's position, age, visible status markers. In Korean culture, getting the hierarchy wrong could kill a deal instantly. She bowed to the senior executive first, deeper than the others, holding it longer, then to each person in exact order of importance. Sejang Thompson, perfect honorific language, exact cultural protocol. The Korean leader, Mr. Park, smiled with genuine surprise. Most Americans butchered their language or ignored courtesy entirely. Now came the real challenge. Mr. Chishi asked a pointed question in Japanese about manufacturing timelines. Mr. Park immediately responded with concerns in Korean about quality control standards. David looked completely lost. 2 languages flying simultaneously. $1,000,000 implications in every sentence. I have no idea what's happening. David whispered desperately. Zara remained perfectly calm under pressure. They're not arguing, Mr. Thompson. They're problem-solving together. In Asian business culture, vigorous discussion shows serious interest, not conflict. She turned to address both groups, switching languages fluidly. First to Mr. Chishi in Japanese, acknowledging his timeline concerns, then to Mr. Park in Korean, validating his quality standards. Finally to David in English, bridging both perspectives. Mr. Chishi is asking about manufacturing timelines. Mr. Park is concerned about quality control standards meeting Korean regulations. Both are actually asking the same question. How do we ensure excellence without compromising speed? But the conversation accelerated rapidly. Technical specifications, regulatory requirements, cultural expectations, 3 languages flying around the room. David's panic was visible. Sweat dripped down his temples. Then Zara did something extraordinary. She addressed all parties simultaneously, a sentence in Japanese, a phrase in Korean, connecting ideas across cultures in real time. The room fell silent, then erupted in nodding and smiling. They want to propose something bigger than your original deal, Mr. Thompson. Zara's voice was steady, confident, a 3-way partnership. Japan handles advanced technology development. Korea manages precision manufacturing. America provides market access and distribution. David's eyes widened. That's triple our original projections. Mr. Park says Korean manufacturing capabilities combined with Japanese innovation could dominate American markets. Mr. Chishi agrees, but wants assurance of cultural sensitivity throughout the partnership. The Korean and Japanese executives were now talking directly to each other, still through Zara's translation, but with growing excitement. This is incredible, David whispered. How did you know they'd want to work together? Cultural research, Mr. Thompson. Japan and Korea have complicated political history, but their business leaders respect each other deeply. They just needed someone who understood both cultures to facilitate the connection. Mr. Chishi spoke directly to Zara in Japanese. His tone was warm, almost paternal. Zara's eyes moistened slightly as she translated. He says I remind him of his granddaughter who's studying international relations at Harvard. He hopes she'll build cultural bridges like this someday. She paused, emotion evident. He also said, "Our company shows wisdom that will honor both cultures for generations." David stared at her with complete amazement. In 1 hour, she'd transformed his company's biggest deal into something he'd never dreamed possible. His phone buzzed ominously. New message. Chinese delegation arriving now. Urgent meeting requested. They seem upset. David showed Zara the screen. Her confidence never wavered. "Ready for the real test, Mr. Thompson. Let's take a 15-minute break," David announced. The investors nodded, chatting among themselves in their native languages. David stepped into the hallway with his assistant, Rebecca, and the hotel manager. Rebecca's perfectly manicured nails tapped against her tablet. Her designer suit screamed expensive MBA program. "David, you cannot be serious about this," Rebecca hissed, voice low but sharp. "She's a delivery girl. What do we actually know about her credentials? Her background?" The hotel manager nodded eagerly. "There are protocols here. Liability issues. What if she mistranslates something critical? What if she's just winging it?" Winging it? David's eyebrows shot up. She just turned a two-party deal into a three-way partnership worth 3 times our original projections. But where did she even learn these languages? Rebecca's voice dripped skepticism. "Community college, some online program. These are serious investors, David. They expect professionals." The real concern leaked through her polished exterior. "And what happens to my position as international relations coordinator? You're going to replace me with someone from food service." Her fear was naked now, raw, desperate. "Think about the optics, David. Board meetings, client presentations. Do you really want to explain why your head translator delivers sandwiches between negotiations?" The hotel manager jumped in, sensing opportunity. "Mr. Thompson, we have established vendors for interpretation services, certified professionals with proper insurance, background checks. David's voice rose slightly. She just demonstrated more cultural competency in 1 hour than most certified translators show in years. Through the conference room's glass doors, Zara was visible, helping the Korean and Japanese investors navigate a technical diagram. Everyone was nodding, smiling, clearly engaged. "But sir," Rebecca pressed, "what about proper channels, HR approvals, due diligence? We can't just hire random people off the street." "Random." David turned to face her fully. "Rebecca, in 6 months as international relations coordinator, how many deals have you closed?" Rebecca's face flushed. "That's not the market conditions have been. She's closed more international business in 1 hour than you have all year." The accusation hung heavy in the marble hallway. "David, please think rationally." Rebecca tried again. "What about corporate standards? Professional appearance? She's wearing a uniform with stains on it. So, judge the uniform, not the talent." "I'm not judging anything. I'm protecting this company's reputation. What will the board think? What will other clients assume when they see results?" David's patience was wearing thin. "When they see respect, when they see someone who actually understands international business at a level you've never achieved." Rebecca's voice cracked slightly. "This isn't fair, David. I have an MBA from Wharton. I've worked here for 3 years. I followed every protocol, every procedure, and she has actual skills." The brutal honesty silenced the hallway. Through the glass, they watched Zara pointing to specific contract clauses. All 3 delegations leaning in attentively. She wasn't just translating. She was teaching, guiding, facilitating understanding between cultures. David's phone buzzed. Text from inside the conference room. "Mr. Thompson, Chinese delegation in lobby. Investors ready to continue when you are." Rebecca made one last desperate attempt. "David, what about company culture, team dynamics? How do you integrate someone who doesn't understand our systems?" "Rebecca." David's voice was firm. "Final results matter more than resumes. Talent matters more than titles, and seeing people for who they are matters more than judging them for what they're wearing." He walked toward the conference room door. "Excuse me, I have a company to save." Back in the conference room, everything had changed. Zara no longer stood awkwardly in the corner. The investors had positioned chairs, so she sat at the table as an equal participant. Complex contract terms covered the conference table. Technical specifications, regulatory requirements, cultural considerations most companies never even thought about. In Japanese business culture, Zara explained to David, when Mr. Chishi says we should think carefully about timing, he's not expressing doubt. He's showing respect for the decision-making process. It means he's interested but wants to maintain proper dignity. She turned to the Korean side. Mr. Park's phrase translates literally to cautious enthusiasm. In Korean business context, that's actually very positive. Both cultures are saying yes, but they need you to show leadership by addressing their specific concerns first. David leaned forward, suddenly understanding the dynamics he'd been blind to for years. So, they're not stalling. They're inviting me to lead. Exactly. In both cultures, the senior American partner is expected to demonstrate wisdom and cultural awareness before final agreements. For the next 20 minutes, David navigated the conversation like a seasoned international executive. Every time he hesitated, Zara provided cultural context. Every time confusion arose, she bridged the gap instantly. The transformation was visible. Investors' body language shifted from formal politeness to genuine engagement. Laughter replaced stiffness. Excitement replaced caution. Mr. Park spoke rapidly in Korean. Zara listened, nodding at key points. He's asking if we can have preliminary agreements drafted by tomorrow. In Korean business standards, that's incredibly fast. It means they're not just interested, they're committed. Tomorrow. David's eyes widened. Mr. Thompson, if I may suggest, mentioning your respect for long-term partnerships and family legacy would seal this deal. Both concepts are foundational in Asian business cultures. David followed her guidance exactly. Gentlemen, our company believes in partnerships that honor multiple generations. We're not looking for quick profits, but lasting relationships that benefit our children's children. The response was immediate. Both delegations smiled broadly. Mr. Chishi nodded with deep approval. Perfect, Zara whispered. You just spoke their cultural language. Mr. Chishi stood and addressed Zara directly in formal Japanese. His tone was respectful, almost reverent. He's asking if I would be available for future negotiations, Zara translated. He says, our company shows wisdom in recognizing talent regardless of external appearances. The phrase hung meaningfully in the air. Everyone understood the deeper implications. Mr. Park pulled out his business card, presenting it to Zara with both hands, the highest form of respect in Korean culture. In that moment, she wasn't the delivery girl anymore. She was a respected professional. Mr. Park wants to recommend our company to other Korean businesses seeking American partnerships, she continued. He says, our cultural sensitivity sets us apart from every other American firm he's worked with. David watched in amazement as his company's reputation transformed in real time. Word would spread through Asian business networks. Recommendations would follow. Future deals would come easier, Mr. Chishi added in Japanese, gesturing toward both David and Zara. He says the same for Japanese markets. Our cultural competency will open doors that have been closed to American companies for decades. Quantifiable value was being created by the minute. Not just this deal, but an entire network of future opportunities. David's phone rang. Rebecca's name flashed on screen. Through the glass door, he could see her pacing anxiously in the hallway. Ms. Williams, would you mind handling the next phase while I take this call? For the first time, Zara was left completely in charge of million-dollar international negotiations. She touched the silver pendant at her throat and smiled confidently. Of course, Mr. Thompson. David returned from his phone call, face set with determination. Rebecca's voice still echoed from the hallway. Angry, desperate protests about protocols and procedures. He walked directly to the head of the conference table. All conversations stopped. Japanese, Korean, and now Chinese investors looked up expectantly. Gentlemen, I'd like to make a formal announcement. The room fell completely silent. I want to officially introduce Ms. Zara Williams as our new Director of International Cultural Relations. Zara's eyes widened in shock. The title didn't exist an hour ago. David had just created it on the spot. Rebecca's voice carried through the glass door. You can't be serious. This is insane. Ms. Williams will be your primary contact for all cultural and linguistic matters moving forward, David continued, ignoring the outburst. Any international partnerships will go through her guidance and approval. Mr. Chishi immediately stood and offered a formal business bow to Zara, deep, respectful, acknowledging her new status. Mr. Park followed suit, his bow equally respectful. In business, we talk about assets. David addressed the room. Quarterly reports, market projections, revenue streams, but the greatest asset any company can have is recognizing extraordinary talent, regardless of how it's packaged. His voice grew stronger, more confident. Ms. Williams has demonstrated in 3 hours what most international consultants can't achieve in 3 months. She doesn't just translate words, she translates hearts. Zara's voice was slightly shaky. Mr. Thompson, I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept the position. Say you'll help us build bridges we never knew we needed. The moment stretched between them. The delivery girl and the CEO. The dismissed and the desperate. 2 people whose lives were about to change forever. Zara touched her grandmother's pendant, then looked up with quiet confidence. I accept. David turned to Rebecca, still visible through the glass door. Phone pressed to her ear, probably calling other board members in panic. Rebecca, please prepare Ms. Williams's onboarding paperwork immediately. Full benefits package, competitive executive salary, immediate start date. Rebecca's deflated expression was visible even through the glass. Mr. Park spoke in Korean, his tone warm and approving. He says he's deeply impressed by American companies that recognize talent over titles. Zara translated, her confidence growing with each word. He wants to recommend us to other Korean businesses looking for American partners who understand cultural sensitivity. Mr. Chishi added his endorsement in Japanese. He says the same for Japanese markets. Word will spread about our cultural competency. Doors will open that have been closed to American companies for years. David felt the magnitude of this moment. Not just a hiring decision, but a transformation of everything his company could become. His phone buzzed urgently. New message visible on screen. Chinese delegation here now. They seem very upset about cultural protocols. Emergency meeting requested. David showed Zara the text. Her newfound confidence never wavered. Ready for your first official test, Director Williams. She smiled, straightening her shoulders with new authority. Let's show them what cultural bridges really look like, Mr. Thompson. 5 minutes before the Chinese delegation arrives, David announced. The Korean and Japanese investors continued discussing technical details among themselves, comfortable now in Zara's capable hands. The conference room quieted as most people stepped out for coffee. Only Zara and Mr. Chishi remained, the afternoon sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Mr. Chishi approached slowly, his formal business demeanor softening into something more personal. He spoke quietly in Japanese, his voice gentle and paternal. Zara listened intently, her professional composure melting slightly. He's telling me about his granddaughter, Yuki. She's studying international relations at Harvard. Her voice grew softer as Mr. Chishi continued. She faces discrimination for being too Asian in America, but too American when she visits Japan. She feels caught between 2 worlds, never fully belonging to either. Zara nodded with deep understanding, responding in gentle Japanese. I told him, I understand that feeling completely. Being judged by appearance in America, but also carrying the weight of representing your culture perfectly. It's exhausting. Mr. Chishi's eyes brightened with recognition. He reached into his jacket pocket and removed a small pin from his lapel, a delicate golden crane, beautifully crafted. He offered it to Zara with both hands, speaking in reverent Japanese. In Japanese culture, cranes represent hope and healing, Zara translated, her voice thick with emotion. He says, I remind him that the next generation will heal the divisions our generation couldn't bridge. She accepted the pin with appropriate reverence, bowing deeply. He wants me to have this because her voice caught slightly because he believes Yuki and I represent the future. People who can walk between worlds without losing themselves. Mr. Chishi smiled genuinely, then surprised everyone by speaking in careful English. You have gift, Zara-san, not just language. You have heart that speaks all languages. Cheers gathered in Zara's eyes. This wasn't about business anymore. This was about human recognition across every barrier, cultural, generational, economic. She carefully pinned the golden crane to her uniform right next to her grandmother's silver pendant. 2 generations of women who understood the power of connection. Arigato gosu Tishin. Your granddaughter is very lucky to have someone who believes in her. David watched from the doorway, understanding something profound. Zara didn't just translate languages. She translated the deepest human need to be seen, understood, valued. The elevator chimed in the distance, voices echoed from the lobby, sharp formal Chinese cutting through the marble halls. Mr. Tishi straightened, his business demeanor returning instantly. Chinese delegation, he said simply in English. Zara stood, touching both the crane pin and her grandmother's pendant, carrying the strength of both cultures, both generations. Then let's turn misunderstanding into understanding. The elevator descended in tense silence. David briefed Zara on the crisis unfolding below. Our Beijing manager inadvertently insulted their senior cultural advisor during contract negotiations last week. They're threatening to pull out of all American partnerships, not just ours. His voice cracked with pressure. Zara, this isn't about our deal anymore. This could damage American-Chinese business relations across multiple industries. The elevator doors opened to reveal 8 Chinese executives arranged in perfect formation. Their presence dominated the marble lobby like a judicial tribunal. Director Lu Wei stood at the center, stern-faced, radiating authority that made other hotel guests instinctively step back. His delegation flanked him in strict hierarchical order. No pleasantries, no warm greetings. This was business warfare. Lioi approached David and spoke in rapid, sharp Mandarin. His tone was cold, accusatory, final. Zara stepped forward calmly, translating with steady professionalism. Director Lu was expressing profound disappointment in American cultural insensitivity. He says our Beijing manager showed disrespect that cannot be easily forgotten or forgiven. Lioi continued, gesturing toward his entire delegation with obvious anger. He says this isn't merely business. It's about dignity. In Chinese culture, the disrespect shown was equivalent to dishonoring ancestral memory. David's face went pale. Zara, I don't even know what our manager did specifically. Let me find out. Zara addressed Lioi directly in flawless formal Mandarin. Not conversational Chinese, but ceremonial language, the kind used in serious cultural negotiations. An extended conversation followed. Lioi's responses were sharp, detailed, increasingly animated. Other Chinese executives nodded gravely or shook their heads in disapproval. Finally, Zara turned back to David, her expression serious. Our manager interrupted Director Lu during a formal presentation, contradicted him publicly in front of junior staff, then tried to shake hands immediately instead of allowing appropriate face-saving time. She paused, letting the severity sink in. In Chinese business culture, public contradiction causes loss of mianzi face, honor, respect. It's considered one of the worst professional insults possible. Worse than questioning someone's competence or integrity. David felt his company's international future crumbling. So, we've lost them completely. Lioi checked his expensive watch and spoke curtly in Mandarin. He's giving us exactly 10 minutes before leaving for the airport, Zara translated. But, Mr. Thompson, there might be a way. Anything. Tell me. Only a formal apology demonstration can restore honor, but our manager is in New York. Director Lu is leaving tonight, and apology ceremonies require specific cultural protocols most Americans don't understand. David looked helpless. So, it's impossible. Zara touched her pendant and crane pin simultaneously, drawing strength from both cultures, both generations. Not if I can earn the right to apologize on behalf of your entire company. Can you do that? It requires more than translation, Mr. Thompson. I need to perform a formal Chinese business apology ceremony. If I make even one cultural mistake, it will make everything infinitely worse. The stakes couldn't be higher. One wrong gesture, one mispronounced word, one cultural misstep would end American-Chinese business relations for David's company forever. Lioi's watch ticked loudly in the silent lobby. Zara straightened her shoulders, walked directly to Lioi, and began speaking in formal ceremonial Mandarin. Her entire presence transformed. Voice took on different tones, respectful but confident. Gestures became precise, measured. Posture embodied Chinese cultural formality. She wasn't just speaking Chinese. She was performing Chinese cultural dignity. The Chinese executive's expressions shifted from skepticism to attention to genuine surprise. For several minutes, Zara conducted a formal cultural apology, acknowledgement of specific cultural violations, recognition of Liu's wisdom and senior status, company's commitment to mandatory cultural education, personal responsibility for preventing future disrespect, honor given to Chinese business philosophy and traditions. Every pause was calculated, every bow precisely angled, every hand gesture followed traditional protocols perfectly. The lobby fell completely silent. Even hotel staff stopped moving to watch. Liu's face remained unreadable throughout the ceremony. When Zara finished, she waited in respectful silence. Liu responded in formal Mandarin, long measured sentences that seemed to go on forever. Zara listened intently, her face revealing nothing. Finally, she turned to David. Director Liu acknowledges the sincerity of our apology. He says he's impressed that an American company would send someone who understands true Chinese cultural values, not just surface politeness. David felt a flicker of hope. But Zara continued, he wants to test my cultural knowledge further before accepting our apology. The real test was just beginning. Liu spoke a traditional Chinese proverb, then waited expectantly. Zara thought for a moment, then responded not just with the proverb's completion, but with its deeper philosophical meaning and appropriate business application. Liu's stern expression cracked slightly, the first hint of approval. He presented another cultural challenge, this time about Confucian business philosophy. Zara didn't just pass the test. She engaged Liu in sophisticated dialogue about Chinese business ethics, demonstrating profound understanding of cultural foundations most foreigners never even attempt to learn. Back and forth they went. Proverbs, philosophy, cultural nuances. Liu testing, Zara responding with increasing confidence. The other Chinese executives began nodding approvingly. Their leader was clearly impressed. Finally, Liu addressed his entire delegation in rapid Mandarin. He's telling them that our company shows rare wisdom in employing someone who truly understands Chinese culture. Zara translated, he says we demonstrate respect that he's never seen from American businesses. She paused, emotion creeping into her voice. And he's asking if I would be willing to oversee cultural protocols for all future Chinese-American business relations in our sector. The magnitude hit David instantly, not just saving one deal, but becoming the cultural bridge for an entire industry. Louis approached Zara and offered his business card with both hands, the ultimate sign of professional respect. Then, breaking his formal demeanor completely, he spoke in careful English. You honor both cultures, Director Williams. This is true bridge building. The Chinese delegation's entire attitude transformed. Smiles replaced stern expressions. Warmth replaced coldness. David realized he'd just witnessed something historic. Cultural diplomacy at the highest level performed by a woman who'd been dismissed as a delivery girl 3 hours earlier. Liu spoke again in Mandarin. He wants to restart all negotiations immediately, Zara said, her voice strong with newfound authority. And he's inviting our company to Beijing next month for a formal cultural partnership ceremony. The crisis was not just resolved, it was transformed into unprecedented opportunity. The Grand Metropolitan Hotel's largest conference room buzzed with unprecedented energy. Japanese, Korean, and Chinese delegations sat together at an expanded table. David's executive team filled additional chairs. Hotel staff lingered by the doors, sensing something historic unfolding. Zara no longer wore her wrinkled delivery uniform. David had provided professional attire from the hotel's boutique, but she'd kept her grandmother's pendant and Mr. Qishi's crane pin prominently visible, symbols of her journey. David stood at the head of the table, commanding attention from 3 of Asia's most powerful business delegations. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to formally recognize Ms. Zara Williams, who in the span of 4 hours has not only saved our international partnerships, but expanded them beyond our wildest projections. He produced a crystal award, hastily engraved, but deeply meaningful. To Zara Williams, bridge builder, cultural ambassador, extraordinary talent. Applause filled the room. Genuine enthusiastic recognition from investors who rarely showed such emotion in business settings. As cameras flashed from phones recording the moment, the transformation was complete. The same woman dismissed at the service entrance now commanded respect from international executives worth billions. Mr. Qishi stood first, his formal business bow deep and reverent. In Japanese culture, we have concept. Nana Korobi Yauki fall 7 times rise 8. Ms. Williams shows us that true talent rises regardless of circumstance or initial judgment. Mr. Park followed, switching between Korean and accented English. Korean businesses value Noonie, intuitive understanding of people in situations. Ms. Williams has Noonie for cultures not even her own. This is very rare gift that cannot be taught, only recognized. Director Liu Wei rose last, his endorsement carrying the most weight. Chinese philosophy teaches that true wisdom recognizes wisdom in others regardless of external appearance or social position. Today we witnessed this ancient truth in modern practice. David's phone hadn't stopped buzzing for 30 minutes. Word was spreading through business networks at lightning speed. Zara, in the last hour alone, I've received calls from 6 Fortune 500 companies requesting your consulting services. LinkedIn posts about today's events are going viral. He showed her his screen. Social media posts spreading rapidly. The delivery girl who became a VP in one day. This is why I never judge people by their job titles. Talent has no dress code. Comments poured in by the hundreds. This gives me hope. Excellence speaks every language. I see myself in this story. Rebecca appeared in the doorway. Her earlier resistance completely dissolved. She approached slowly, visibly humbled. Zara, I owe you the deepest apology. I was threatened by your talent instead of celebrating it. I judged you by your uniform instead of your abilities. Her voice cracked slightly. I've learned something crucial today about my own prejudices. I hope you'll let me learn from you moving forward. Zara's response revealed her character completely. Rebecca, there's room for all of us to succeed. Different strengths make stronger teams. I'd welcome your partnership. Grace in victory. Leadership through example. David addressed the entire room with growing confidence. Effective immediately, this company will implement mandatory cultural competency training for all executives led by Director Williams. We're also establishing international mentorship programs in major cities. He paused for the announcement that would change lives beyond this room. And we're founding the Williams Cultural Bridge Scholarship. Full funding for disadvantaged students studying international relations, linguistics, and cultural diplomacy. Zara's professional composure finally cracked. Tears gathered in her eyes as the magnitude hit her. The scholarship represented everything her grandmother had dreamed. Language is a pathway to opportunity for others like her. The first recipient, David continued, will be Mr. Chishi's granddaughter, Yuki, studying the intersection of American and Japanese business cultures at Harvard. Mr. Chishi bowed deeply to Zara, his voice thick with emotion. You honor my family greatly. My granddaughter will learn that talent recognizes no color, no class, no national borders. You give hope to next generation. David's assistant entered breathlessly. Sir, local news crews are outside. Someone posted video footage of today's negotiations. It's trending on multiple platforms. Through the conference room windows, news vans were visible in the hotel's circular drive. LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, everyone's sharing the story, the assistant continued. They're calling it the greatest example of hidden talent recognition in corporate history. The hotel manager from the opening scene appeared, his earlier condescension replaced by profound embarrassment. Ms. Williams, I owe you more than an apology. I committed an act of professional prejudice that could have cost everyone dearly. I've learned something fundamental about judging people by appearance rather than ability. Zara's response was measured educational. We all make assumptions based on limited information. The important thing is learning from those moments and choosing to see people differently moving forward. David made his final announcement. This hotel will now host quarterly hidden talent recognition events specifically designed to identify and celebrate overlooked abilities among service industry workers throughout the city. The symbolic transformation was complete. The same luxury hotel lobby where Zara was dismissed now displayed a temporary banner being installed. Talent has no dress code. Williams Cultural Bridge Initiative, headquarters. Local news crews were setting up for interviews. The service entrance where she'd been directed now featured a small plaque. Excellence speaks every language. A reporter approached with cameras rolling. Ms. Williams, what's your message to young people who feel invisible in their current roles? Zara touched both her grandmother's pendant and the golden crane pin, drawing strength from two cultures, two generations of women who understood the power of perseverance. Your current chapter is not your complete story. Excellence speaks every language, crosses every barrier, and rises above every assumption. She looked directly into the camera. To anyone feeling overlooked, your moment is coming. Be ready. Stay excellent and remember that bridges are built by those brave enough to stand between two worlds. The reporter pressed further. What advice do you have for business leaders? Look beyond titles. Listen past accents. See through uniforms to the unlimited potential beneath. The next person who saves your company might be standing right in front of you, waiting to be noticed. As evening approached, the conference room had transformed into an impromptu celebration. International investors mingling with hotel staff, executives learning phrases in multiple languages from housekeeping and kitchen workers who'd emerged to witness history. David watched it all with profound satisfaction. Not just a business deal saved, but a fundamental shift in how his company and hopefully others would recognize and nurture human potential. The golden crane pin caught the light as Zara moved through the crowd, translating conversations, building connections, creating bridges that would last for generations. 6 months later, the same marble lobby of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel buzzed with different energy. Service workers moved with new confidence. Guests interacted with genuine respect. Everything had changed. Zara Williams stood at a podium where she'd once been dismissed, now addressing the International Diversity and Business Conference. Her delivery uniform had been replaced by an elegant business suit, but her grandmother's pendant and Mr. Chishi's crane pin remained proudly visible. The audience included CEOs, university presidents, and policymakers from 12 countries. The Williams Cultural Bridge Scholarship has now funded 97 students across 15 universities, Zara announced. Chishi's son's granddaughter, Yuki, was just the beginning. In the audience, Mr. Chishi beamed with pride. Beside him sat Yuki herself, confident, bilingual, preparing for her own international consulting career. These scholars represent the future. People who will build connections we can barely imagine today. The transformation had rippled far beyond one hotel, one company, one deal. Hotels across America have implemented hidden talent recognition programs, identifying skills among service workers previously overlooked. The results speak for themselves. She clicked to her next slide. Companies participating in these programs report 23% increases in employee satisfaction and 31% improvements in customer relations. But statistics couldn't capture the human stories. Maria, a housekeeper in Chicago, is now director of Hispanic market relations for a major hotel chain. She speaks 4 languages and understands cultural nuances that transform their customer experience. James, a parking attendant in San Francisco, became IT director after demonstrating programming skills he'd taught himself during night shifts. His software innovations saved his company $2 million annually. Sarah, a cafeteria worker in Atlanta, now leads cultural sensitivity training for international corporations. Her insights about African American professional experiences opened markets previously inaccessible. Each story represented someone who'd been invisible until someone chose to truly see them. David Thompson sat in the front row. His company now the most sought-after cultural consulting firm in international business. The man who'd once been desperate in a hotel hallway had become a champion of recognizing hidden potential. But the real transformation isn't about individual success stories, Zara continued. It's about changing how we see each other fundamentally. Her voice grew stronger, more passionate. Every day, extraordinary people are dismissed because of uniforms, accents, zip codes, or assumptions about their background. How many solutions are we missing? How much innovation are we wasting? How many bridges remain unbuilt because we judge books by their covers? The audience leaned forward, captivated. This week, I challenge every person in this room to look beyond someone's job title. Ask your barista about their dreams. Listen to your ride-share driver story. Notice the delivery person's potential. She paused, letting the challenge settle. If you're in hiring positions, examine skills rather than pedigrees. If you're a leader, create space for voices that go unheard. If you're a colleague, amplify talents others might overlook. Share stories of unrecognized excellence on social media. Challenge systems that judge worth by appearance. Build bridges instead of barriers. The camera panned across faces in the audience, some nodding, others wiping away tears, all clearly moved by the message. The Williams Cultural Bridge Scholarship continues accepting applications. We're looking for students who will build tomorrow's connections across every divide: cultural, economic, racial, generational. Behind her, a screen displayed the scholarship website and application information. But beyond formal programs, each of you can become a bridge builder. Recognition is free. Respect costs nothing. Seeing someone's full humanity requires only the courage to look past surface judgments. She touched her pendant and pin one final time. Languages connect us across borders. Respect elevates us above prejudice. Recognition transforms individual lives. But seeing each other's unlimited potential that changes everything. The final slide appeared. A photo from 6 months ago showing Zara in her delivery uniform alongside today's photo of her addressing world leaders. The next time you meet someone new, will you see their current uniform or their unlimited potential? Standing ovation erupted throughout the ballroom. Not polite corporate applause, but genuine emotional response from people whose perspectives had been fundamentally shifted. Share this story if you believe everyone deserves to be seen for who they truly are. Comment below with your own experiences of hidden talent, either witnessed or lived. Subscribe Hidden Turns if you want more stories that restore faith in human potential. Most importantly, become the person who sees beyond appearances. Become the leader who creates opportunities. Become the bridge that connects divided worlds. The conference room screens displayed engagement calls to action, scholarship information, and corporate diversity program links. Zara's final words echoed through the silence. Excellence speaks every language. The question is simple. Are you listening?